one thing I've come to understand is that many of us, the major or what we lack currently in our current growth or in our current journey is that we don't have an accountability structure to what we are doing. So we have goals that we write down at the beginning of the year that we don't even accomplish, and no one even comes to check in with you that, oh, I thought you set this goal at the beginning of the year. Some of us might have set a goal at the beginning of the year that, oh, this year I want to read 10 books. And this mid-year already, and some of you might not have even read up to 2 books out of the 10 you wrote. And the reason why you don't feel bad about it is that there's no one you shared it with. There's no one you told about it. So there's no one to hold you accountable to that kind of goal. So that's why we're doing something like this. So please, I hope we've done that. Is there anyone who is here to do that? I mean, write it down and also share with your neighbor. So write it down, just share with your neighbor. Just tell the person, just a single sentence. I hope we are good with that. All right, so now let's move forward. So building a research career. So when it comes to building a research career, one thing you have to understand first is that there are different industries, there are different fields, there are different niches. And one thing you have to first understand is that what is my niche? For instance, I'm in the healthcare space, I'm the health space, and I've been working in the health space for all my life. My undergraduate program was in the healthcare field, in the medical field. My master's was in the medical space. My PhD is currently in the medical field also. So that has been a niche for me, or that's my own field of endeavor. And everything I do around that is what communicates my person, my impact in whatsoever skill. So, and I want us to understand that when it comes to building a research career, the first thing you have to understand is the purpose. Are we building a research career? Why do we do research in the first place? And the major or the basic answer to that is we do research basically because of data. One of our speakers in the earlier session mentioned something around by 2050, Nigeria will be the third country with the highest population in the world. How did such information come into play? It's basically data. Some people have done research, they've done some predictive modeling, they've done some research to analyze the pace of growth of the population currently of the country. And they've been able to predict that by 2050, this country will have grown to this particular population. So that is why we do research. We are trying to collate data, we're trying to gather evidences around the different problems that we're trying to solve in the world. So that is the foundation. You need to understand that. The reason why you are getting involved in a research career and research is to collect data to make the right decision. For instance, a practical example to that is the reason why I would choose to travel to Abuja from Ibadan, from Ibadan to Abuja by flight instead of going by road is because I have data that shows that if I go by flight, I will arrive at Abuja at a shorter duration, at a shorter time frame. If I have to travel from Ibadan to Abuja and it takes me like 1 hour, and I have to go by road and it takes me like 5 hours, if I have what it takes, then I will go by flight, because by data, based on evidences available, we know that it takes a shorter time to travel by flight. So that is why we are doing research, or that is why we do research as a career. So now to the research career ladder, as I'll be going forward, the first thing you have to understand is there need to be curiosity. So what are you curious about? What problem have you found in your field, in your space that you are trying to solve? What are you curious about? So everything starts with a research question. What question are you trying to answer? As I said earlier, I'm in the healthcare space, and my field or my niche is infectious disease. So I've worked across different infectious diseases, cutting across viruses, parasites, bacteria. So what I'm trying to do, or anytime I'm working on research, what I'm trying to find, or the question I'm trying to solve is, how is this, or why is this disease endemic? Why is this disease spreading across this population group? Then based on the data I get, I can profile solutions, innovative solutions on how to combat that spread. So that is the foundation, or that's where you need to start from when it comes to your research career ladder. You need to first have a research interest or a research question you are trying to profile solution to. Then the next thing is apprenticeship. When it comes to apprenticeship, I understand that a lot of us are skeptical about that in Nigeria, and that's because we feel that sometimes we are always caught in between whether going for the skills or going for the money, which is good. I mean, everyone wants money. I also need money. But sometimes you have to sacrifice. That's why I mentioned earlier that there's a place of delayed gratification. You have to sacrifice the immediate returns for the future returns. That is one of the strategies you have to do. So there's times that you have to volunteer in a place or go for a low-paying job just to build the necessary skills you need to achieve your goals. So for instance, I mentioned my research profile. They mentioned that I have over 15 research publications and all. But one thing that you have to understand is that I started publishing even before I left Nigeria. At least before I left Nigeria, I already had close to 10 publications and over 100 citations as a researcher. And that's because I worked in a space that got me an opportunity to do research, though I was not being paid for doing research. I was doing it on a volunteer basis. I was doing it just to learn, just to build my capacity, just to build my skills. So that's one thing you have to understand. There's a place of learning, even when it won't yield immediate return. Then the third thing is you have to train. So why are you going for an MSc or a PhD? So for some of us on this call, what you need is just an MSc for your research career goals. For some of us, you need a PhD to achieve those goals. So you need to understand which of these you need. So if it's just an MSc you need, focus on it, get it, and proceed with your career. If it's a PhD you need to achieve your career goals, go for the PhD, get it, and continue with your career. And for some of us, even on this call, your goal or what you need might be an MBA. You might not need an MS, you might not need a PhD. What you need might be an MBA. So you go for it, achieve it, then proceed with your career. Then the last thing I'll talk about here is contribute. So it's not enough to garner all these skills, garner all this knowledge. The next thing is how do I contribute this to the body of knowledge? Because when we do research, what we're trying to do is we're trying to build on existing knowledge. There's a body of knowledge that is available already, irrespective of the field you are in. What you're trying to do is you're trying to build on that existing knowledge to achieve better impact in the society. So now, what are the skills that you need as a researcher? What are the skills that you need to start paying attention to while you are still in Nigeria, while you are still, preparing yourself for these global and international opportunities? One skill you have to learn is, and one skill you have to embrace is the skill of deep specialty. For any field of endeavor, trust me, they are always looking for specialists. No one is looking for generalists. Trust me. In our world of today, where AI can do most of our tasks, no one is looking for generalists again. They are looking for specialists in each field. So which field do you see yourself specializing in? What area of field or what area of your current academic journey do you see yourself specializing it? So you need to find the niche where you're going to specialize in. Then the next skill you have to embrace is research writing. For some of us, the only exposure you might have to research writing, for those that are still in school, you might not even have any exposure to research writing yet. But for those of us that are graduates on this call, your only exposure to research writing might be your undergraduate project. It is still something. You can build on that. That is good already. That's a good foundation to build upon. So if all the research experience you have so far is just your undergraduate project, it's something. My next question would now be that for this undergraduate project, did you do it yourself? If you did it yourself, good. You can build upon it. You can even go ahead and get the work published. Speak to your PI, get the work published. That would be a sort of publication into your profile. Then you can build upon it for subsequent research works. Then the next skill you need to embrace is communication. As a researcher, you need to be able to communicate your findings in simple terms, in simple languages. That's why we have conferences, we have seminars that researchers go for, people in research go for. You need to be able to communicate your findings, be able to communicate your research idea to people in a convincing way. Most of these opportunities I got, whether for my master's or my PhD, before I got these opportunities, I was able to convince them to tell them about my research goals, my research interests, my research projects. And it was convincing enough to them for them to offer me an opportunity to proceed with it. So you need to be able to communicate to people your research ideas. Okay, this is what I want to do as a researcher. This is the particular research I want to work on to provide solution to this problem that is currently in the world. You need to be able to do that. Then the next thing you have to be able to do is you have to be able to analyze. So you need both critical analysis, analytical skills, as well as data analysis skills. So data analysis is an essential part of research. You cannot remove research. You cannot separate research and data analysis because, just as I said earlier, what we do in research is basically getting enough data and evidence to work with to make decisions. So you need to be able to analyze this data. And of course, you don't have to be an expert at data analysis, trust me. Data analysis itself is a field on its own. So you don't need to be an expert on it, but you should be able to use basic data analysis tools like the SPSS, Excel. You can use Excel, you can use SPSS. Those are still basic tools. In more developed clients like this, we use more of Python, R, and the likes. We use more of programming language for research because of the large scale of data that we work with. But in Nigeria, you can still make do with Excel, SPSS. And if you have the opportunity to learn some of these advanced ones like R programming language, Python, you can go for it. Nothing should stop you from learning it. You know that this will definitely add to your profile. It will add to your skill bank that could be sold to whatever organization or institution that you might be targeting getting into. So to buttress this point, I would like to make reference to what I call the Pareto principle, or what is popularly known as Pareto principle, that says that most times 80% of your outcomes stem from 20% of your efforts. So the reason why I focus on just these four skills is that I discovered that many times when it comes to skills, many of us just garner a lot of skills. We want to do this, we want to do that, you want to do graphic design, you want to do this. Trust me, you don't need all skills for what you are going to. There are specific skills that you need for this field. Understand those skills and give it your best. So that's why I had to reference the Pareto principle that says that 80% of your outcome is determined by just 20% of your inputs. So many times we discover that most of these things that people claim that they are doing or they are learning, it does not really translate to outcomes in their lives. So just 20% of those inputs that you do most times translate to outcomes. So you need to understand the 20% and focus on it. And that's why I focus on just four skills. So now the next activity I would like us to do is, having said what I've said, I would like us to write your surname and your first name, first or middle name, or you can put the two together. First name, your full name, basically. Put it down, then write your research interest. You can write it in order of hierarchy, that is based on most preferred, more preferred, and least preferred. So put your research interests into three different lines. So the top three that you are interested in currently. Of course, your research interest might change over time, but for now, the ones that you are sure of that, okay, this is the area of research I really want to go into in your field. For instance, I said my own research interest is infectious disease, which is an area of health. For some persons, it might be non-communicable diseases. For some persons, it might be mental health. You know, depending on your field. If you are not in the medical field, you could focus on what is relevant in your field. So list out the top three research interests you have in your field and note the real world problem that these research interests tend to solve. That is, what problem can you solve with this research interest? For me, I already mentioned mine is infectious disease. And how do I make or how does this solve problem in our today's world? We have a lot of infectious diseases that have been ravaging the world. COVID-19 is an example. At least that's the most common that many of us can relate to. COVID-19 is an infectious disease. And we saw how it dealt with the whole population of the universe. So you need to have a research interest, then tag along with it what real life problem will this research area solve or tend to solve. So mine, since infectious disease, mine tend to solve the problem of pandemics and epidemics that we've been experiencing in our world of today. So everything I'm doing is towards reducing the rate of pandemics, epidemics, or endemics in our world of today, as the case may be. So I believe everyone should be done with that. So now let's move to opportunities in research. So I know that a lot of us are already looking forward to this. So what are the kind of opportunities that you could access? So there are quite enormous opportunities in research. And as I said earlier in the general session, that in my research career, I've been able to get fundings and academic scholarships worth over $120,000. I mean, over the years, over recent years. And that did not just come because those people just felt like blessing me or investing in me. No. The major reason why that has been so is because I've been able to give enough evidence to show that, okay, this is what I've done in time past. And if I'm giving better opportunities, this is what I can achieve in life. So that's why I've gotten such funding or such support from different organizations or different platforms. So one of the things that some of these opportunities give you is a lifetime title. In my bio, it was read that I was a Commonwealth Scholar and all those things. So once you get some of these things, it forever sticks to your profile for life. So even in my 50s, in my 60s, in my 70s, they will still regard me as a Commonwealth scholar. So that is one of those things that it gives to you. The second thing it gives to you is that it gives you access to powerful alumni network. That is, there are certain persons I have access to today as a result of some opportunities I've gotten. So when you get access or when you get certain opportunities, it opens you up to a wide range of people that are in that space naturally. So there are certain people I have access to today just because of the opportunities I've gotten. Then the next thing is easier mobility, which I believe a lot of us will like. For someone like me, I love to travel. That's always been my desire to travel around the world. But as at then, when I was dreaming it, I didn't have the money. I didn't have the financial backing. And one thing I've discovered is that one way or one easy way to travel around the world is by having a good research career. I have a mentor currently who told me that he has traveled to over 10 countries of the world, fully funded, never paid for any of these trips. Over 10 countries of the world, fully funded. So for many of us that might be thinking that, oh, my goal is to travel around the world like me. I mean, this is a good platform. This is a good opportunity to express that. You travel to many countries that you never could have thought of just by doing what you are doing and being good at it. Then the last thing is validation and confidence. So when you get certain opportunities, it helps the world to recognize what you are doing and who you are. So now to the types of opportunities that you could explore. So we have scholarships, which ranges from Commonwealth, Chevening, Mastercard, Fulbright. I got the Commonwealth scholarship. So, but of course, there's quite a number of other scholarships that are available that you could tap into. So you can check up some of these scholarships online, check the eligibility criteria, check what they are looking for. Because I won't, because of brevity of time, I don't have the time to start going into each of these scholarship one by one, but you can check them out online. The details you need are available online. Then the second one is summer research programs. So there are a lot of research programs, summer programs. Summer programs means short programs. For instance, in the US currently, we are currently in summer. So summer is like more like the hot period in quotes. So that's when the temperature is quite high and all. And that's when most of these companies and organizations open up their doors for people to come intern. So summer programs are more like short internships, just for you to come in, learn a few things, and go back. And Nigerians get these opportunities. So it's not until you leave the shores of Nigeria before you get access. I know a lot of people that have gotten into summer programs. I know that currently the doors of US are shut against Nigerians, but there are some other countries that you could explore. Just check online. Many of these things, see, Google has made life easy for us. Even AI has made life easy for us. Check on AI or whether ChatGPT or Claude AI, whatever one you use. Type in there when you get home today. This is like a task I would like to give everyone. Type in there when you get home today. Summer research programs in your field. Just state your field at the back. Summer research program in infectious disease, for instance. Summer research program in robotic engineering, whatever your field might be. Type it into ChatGPT or stuff. It will list out the ones that are currently available or the ones that at least are popularly known. You can explore their sites and check the ones that you are eligible to apply for. That is a good way to start. Then fellowships, the same thing with fellowships. There are quite a number of fellowships you can apply for, whether as student or as a graduate. You can explore some of the names here. Then grants are available. I won my first grant before I left Nigeria. That was the FAO one that I mentioned. So that was I worked with a team of some other friends. We executed the project in Nigeria from that grant. So you can get grants from international companies or international organizations while still in Nigeria. So explore some of these things. I've told you, AI is there, Google is there. Search out these things. The issue is that many people don't even know that these opportunities exist. That's the problem. Many people don't know that they exist, and we have a lot of tools at our disposal and that you can easily use to streamline your search. You can search based on locality, you can search based on your region, you can search based on your citizenship. Just explore the search terms and get as many of these opportunities and start applying. Then conferences, the same thing, bootcamp and training, the same strategy. So now, next thing I'll talk about is how opportunities are designed. So opportunities are candidate specific. So what do I mean by opportunities are candidate specific? Opportunities are designed for a kind of individual. That is, when you check every opportunity, there's something you always see there, eligibility criteria. That alone tells you that there's a certain kind of individuals they are looking for. So opportunities are not for everyone. There's no opportunity in this world that is for everyone, that is open to everyone. They are candidate specific. That is, these are the kind of individual. When you see that part of eligibility criteria, what they are telling you is that this is the kind of individuals we are looking for. And if you have the profile that matches that, You're already telling them that, okay, I'm the best candidate for you. Then the next thing is just for you to prove to them that you are the best candidate. So now that brings me to the point of you don't apply for everything because these opportunities are specific for individuals. And that's why you have to be able to build a robust profile because the better your profile, the more opportunities you'll be able to explore. For me, at this current level of mine, there are certain opportunities that I can apply for that many of us in this room might not be able to apply for. And that's because of the kind of profile I already have. So you need to understand that the more you build your profile, the better opportunities or the more or the wider range of opportunities you will be exposed to. So you need to understand that these opportunities exist for certain individuals and you need to be the kind of individual they are looking for. So now to inventory. So I would like us to do a brief task again. So these are list of qualities or attributes that I believe that every young person, especially in this space of research, international opportunities, should strive to acquire. That is, these are the areas that you should try to build in your research career, in your career journey. That is your CGPA. For those of us that are still students, I can still talk to us briefly on this. For your CGPA, please, it is important. I know that has been told to us that, oh, it's not just about grades, which is true. It's not just about grades, but trust me, grades are part of it. In fact, grades is the foundation of many of the things we build upon. And I always tell people something that one of the few things that you cannot change once you are done with school is your grade. You can upgrade a lot of other things. You can upgrade your leadership skills. You can upgrade your trainings. You can upgrade your community impact. You can upgrade your work experience. But one thing I know that I've not seen one individual on this earth that finished from school that was able to upgrade is your CGPA. Once you finish with the CGPA in school, that is the CGPA on that particular degree or qualification for life. Nothing can change it. Not even prayers. Prayers cannot change this one. I've not seen anyone that they said prayed and the person's CGPA changed. Prayers will not change your CGPA. So you need to understand that if you are still a student, you need to pay attention to your CGPA. A lot of things can be improved upon, but your CGPA cannot be improved upon. Once you get it wrong there, of course, there are amendments to it, but it's better to avoid that stress. It's better to avoid that stress if you are still in that level where you can avoid it. And for some of us that are done with school, and of course, there's nothing you can do to change that again, there are other things that you can do. And that's why I will talk about the other things. So, one of the things that you need to improve upon is your leadership skills. That is, what are the areas in which you've served as a leader? What are the areas in which you've exhibited leadership skills? So it's something you need to pay attention to. If you are the kind of person that you say, oh, I don't like being a leader, they try to encourage you to get into leadership position and you always turn it away. Please start paying attention to it. Leadership skills are essential. Most organizations look out for that. Next thing is community impact. That is, in what way have you been able to contribute to your immediate community? For instance, the Commonwealth Scholarship I got is a developmental scholarship. And the reason and what it means is, as a developmental scholarship, they need individuals who are already doing something in their community who can do it at a larger scale. That is, for you to get the scholarship, there's something they are already doing at your community. There's an impact you're already making at your community. And they are just giving you a platform to express yourself better so as to be able to make it at a larger scale. So community impact is important. For those of us in the healthcare space, I can give you some advice on what to do. You can join an NGO or join any of these organizations doing all these community outreaches. Join them, participate in those activities, contribute in your own little way. If it's to go for a campaign, let's say they are doing World Tuberculosis Day campaign, you can join them if you have a chance. Join them, do the campaign, take pictures, document it. That's part of your experience. That's part of the things you can add to your CV. So please, community impact is important. Then work experience. If you have a job, um, definitely you can always improve on it. The skills you get at your job, the impact you make at your job, they are relevant to whatever thing you might be applying for. Then memberships, you can join associations. And when I mean associations, don't just limit yourself to associations within Nigeria. Fine, you have international, you have memberships and associations that you can join as Nigerian. Every field has its own. You see here Nigerian Society of Engineers, Nigerian this, Nigerian that. No, beyond that, join international ones too, international recognized associations in your field. And trust me, the OT to this is most of these associations, if you are coming from a place like Nigeria, they allow you to join for free because ideally most associations demand membership fee. But if you are coming from a low and middle income country like Nigeria, they give you the access to join for free for many of them. At least while I was in Nigeria, I joined quite a number of those associations. So you just have to search out those associations, especially the international ones, check out the requirements, register on those platforms, let them know that you are from Nigeria or from West Africa. I'm sure many of them will give you access to join for free. So, and as you grow in capacity and in stature, you can begin to do the paid ones. Then the next thing you have to pay attention to is trainings. What are the kind of trainings you attend? You need to attend trainings in your field. What are the kind of skills that you are trying to build? And training does not have to be physical. It could be on-site, it could be virtual. We have platforms like Coursera, we have Future Learn, we have many of these online platforms. It has made work easy. You can learn skills that you know will be relevant to what you are doing in your field. Then the next thing is conferences. Yeah, I understand that when it comes to conference, many of us want to travel outside the country to take pictures and all. But even the local ones in your vicinity, try to attend those ones. One thing I did that helped me is that before I left Nigeria in 2024, all the conferences I attended were within Nigeria. I never left Nigeria for any conference before I eventually went for my master's. And those were the experience, or those were the things I stated in my CV, or they were on my CV when I was making my applications. So those local conferences also matter. Pay attention to them. Look for conferences. It might be Lagos, it might be Abuja. Those little ones that you don't really pay attention to, they really matter. Pay attention to them. Start paying attention to them. The next thing is publications. I've spoken about the part of publication earlier that one way to get a publication as a Nigerian is by publishing your undergraduate project. That's if you did a solid work. But if your undergraduate was not that solid, you can speak with your supervisor. Talk to your supervisor that, oh, sir, do you have, if your supervisor is a male or female, just talk to them, sir or ma, I'm trying to build my research skills or my research experience or my research profile. Do you have any project you are currently working on that I could contribute to? So you can offer to contribute, maybe like write a section of the paper. I'm sure many of them will be happy to do that. But of course, make it clear to them that the reason why you're doing it is not just for charity. You want to get some papers published. Let it be clear because I understand that it's a bit dicey in Nigeria. Outside the country, once you contribute to a paper, you automatically are eligible to become an author. But in Nigeria, you can contribute, you can write the whole paper and you don't get being listed as an author on the paper. So you have to make it clear that the reason why I'm doing it is not just for charity. I want to contribute, I want to learn research, but at the same time, I also want the publications, the papers to appear on my profile. So let whatever or whoever you are talking to, let the person understand that you are not doing it just for charity. Then the last part is award. So awards. So any award you get, be it scholarship, be it grants or anything, those things are also valid towards your profile. So the next task we'll do briefly is now, so list out all these items or all these things I've itemized and put a box in front of it. So now score yourself on a scale of 5, that is 1 being the lowest and 5 being the highest. Score yourself on a scale of 5, what level you are on as regards this. So for instance, CGPA, if you finish with a first class, you can give yourself like a 5. Yeah, that's like the highest grade you can finish with in a school. If you finish the second class upper, or you are currently on the second class upper, you can give yourself 4. If you are currently on the second class lower, you can give yourself 3 for that. So the same thing with leadership. Score yourself. Just be honest with yourself. Based on your leadership experience so far, how far have you gone? How much have you done in terms of leadership? How much have you done in terms of work experience? How much have you done in terms of memberships? How much of trainings have you acquired? How much of conferences have you attended? Grade yourself or score yourself based on those attributes. Then we'll talk about the next thing. So let's do that briefly, next 3 minutes. So once you are done with that, so the next thing is now look at the lowest two, that is the two with the lowest scores. So because those ones are the ones I want you to start paying attention to right away. The two with the lowest scores, that is out of the different 9 items I've mentioned, the two that you still have the weakest profile in, those are the things you should start focusing on. Because I've said it, what you need is you need a holistic profile. They are not just looking for your CGPA, they want someone who is well-rounded. And that's one thing that really helped me. as at the time I was living in Nigeria, as the time I was applying for my master's, my CV was like 4 pages. Yeah. As the time I was applying for my master's, my CV was like 4 pages. That's, yeah, like 4 pages. So, of course, most times I have to cut it down because some places will tell you that they just need 2 pages and all. But as the time I was applying for my master's, my CV was already like 4 pages. So imagine the number of pages my CV is currently. So that's to tell you that you can do these things even while you are still in Nigeria. Because I always tell people that the proof that you do well, one of the proof that you do well outside the country is how well you are doing for yourself in Nigeria. I mean, when I mean how well you are doing for yourself, it doesn't mean in terms of financial terms. You might not have the money in Nigeria, but even if you have the skills, you have the experience, you have the all these trainings, trust me, they will speak for you outside the country. You might not be well appreciated in a place, but some other places might appreciate you better. So that's just the law of life. Yeah, so I hope everyone has done that. So the last two or the two with the lowest scores, those should be your growth targets for this year. And please note it down that these are the areas I will start giving more attention to going forward after this conference. So now, because of our time, let's go to the next thing. So I'll be talking briefly on how to navigate. Okay, just I don't think I'll go much into this because I discovered that one of our speakers will be taking this. So I'll just skip this so that we could cover more ground. Yeah, so now to audacity to stand. I said it in the general session that rejections are part of the process. Trust me, I've applied for so many things in this life. When people see my profile and say, "Oh, you've won so so and so, you've won this and this," I've gotten more rejections than the wins I've gotten. The rejections I've gotten in my career are more than the wins. That is, for every win you see me get, I most likely have gotten like 5 rejections. So that's to tell you that as much as you see us having a solid profile, an amazing profile there, it has always come with rejections. There have been days that we cried. There have been days that we shed tears. It's part of the process. But if we look at it, really, is it worth it? Yes, it's worth it because many of the years I've gotten, they covered for the nose. Yeah, trust me, they covered for the nose because the rewards that came with those years, it was compensating enough for those days I got nose. So that's to tell you that for everything you are doing, rejection is part of the game. Learn to embrace rejection. Don't shy away from it. I've spoken with friends and colleagues who say things like, "Oh, I'm always scared. That's why I don't apply for things. I don't like getting rejected. I don't like this." See, if you want to go far in this life, you need to embrace, you need to gym with rejection. You need to gym with it. If you know what it means, you need to gym with it. You need to exercise your bones, your muscles with rejection. It's part of the process. You can't take it out of it. Because the truth of the matter is that there are limited opportunities. Just like they taught us in economics that the law of scarcity, the resources around cannot cater for all the people that need the resources. And that's why it's survival of the fittest. It's survival of the fittest. Yeah. So and that's why I always encourage that you spread your tentacles. For instance, I just came back from a summer program. I was in another state for a month and I just came back last night. I just got back to my city just last night. And for this particular program, I had intention of going for a summer program right from my first year, maybe I started my first year PhD. But the one I really wanted to go for, my first choice program, I applied for it around February this year. I got the rejection mail around March. And when I got the rejection mail, I was really pained because that was supposed to be for 6 weeks. But I knew that I wanted to get myself exposed to something new during the summer. Then I looked for another program. That was when I got this one I just came back from. And for this one, I got into the program fully funded. I got the scholarship, feeding, accommodation, everything sorted in another school. So that's to tell you that you need to spread your tentacles. So if your goal in life is to do something, you don't apply for just one opportunity in that line. So for instance, for those of you might be targeting scholarships and all, I always tell people that it is not wisdom to apply for just one scholarship. If your goal is to do masters or PhD outside the country fully funded, you don't apply for just one, you apply for many. Okay, let me just share this with you. For my Commonwealth scholarship that I got, I applied to 9 schools in the UK for my Commonwealth Scholar. I applied to 9 UK schools. I got shortlisted by 2 schools and I got the scholarship from just one school. I repeat myself again. I applied to 9 UK schools. I got shortlisted for the scholarship by 2 schools. Then I eventually got the funding from just one school. So imagine that, and interestingly, the school I got the funding from was the school I submitted the application last. I can remember the day I was writing the application, I was in panic mode because I started the application very late for the last school, and I was almost not meeting the deadline. I submitted like for the deadline for the application was like 5 p.m. I submitted like 4:52 or 4:53 Nigerian time that day. I can still remember. The memory is still fresh in my head. So imagine I did not stretch myself. That I said, "Oh, I've applied for five. I don't need to go for the last one." I applied for nine, and it was the ninth one that gave me the funding that I went to study with at the UK institution. So that's to tell you that you can't afford to stop at minimum level. Go for the maximum. If you can apply for five programs, apply for five. If you can apply for 10, apply for 10. Don't just settle for little. Don't settle for the minimum. So next thing I will just ask us to do now is an obstacle resource map. So briefly, let's just draw the top three obstacles. I've mentioned it. There are challenges along the way. There will always be hurdles. So mention the top three limitations you have currently in your career journey. It could be money, it could be time, it could be information, it could be fear, anything that might be your major limitations or obstacle towards achieving your goals. State it out in your notebook. Then name one resource or person that you've identified that could help you bridge that gap. That is, you've identified that this is a limitation I have, and this limitation is hindering me from achieving my goals. So name any resource, or in front of you, just put any resource or person that you know that could help you to bridge that gap or to bridge that barrier. Then you can share it with your partner, your seat partner. Just share it with the person. The person should be also be able to give you maybe one idea on how to bridge it. That is, for instance, I can tell my seat partner that, oh, my limitation currently to achieving my goals is that I have limitation. I'm limited by fear. I'm scared of rejection. Your resource partner might have an idea of, or your seat partner might have an idea of how to bridge that fear. Though I've mentioned it earlier that when it comes to fear, you need to be able to wave it off. You can't deal with fear when it comes to pursuing your goals. Fear would always come. There always be fear of rejection, fear of imposter syndrome and all those things. But you need to be able to bridge those fear away and focus on the goal. So talk to your partner, your seat partner. Okay, these are the limitations I've identified. Do you have any resource idea for me? Just share with your seat partner briefly. Next 1 minute. Let's do that. I'm not seeing us talk. It seems everyone is just busy with their own things. So please, let's share with ourselves. Feel free to discuss. I mean, your seat partner might eventually be your collaborator. Trust me, we're in a research world, and we do a lot of collaboration, a lot of partnerships. So please, your seat partner might be your future collaborator. So don't be shy to share. We're all learning. Yeah, so let's do that briefly. All right, so now I'll be moving forward. So please don't forget that you can note down your questions, be taking questions briefly. So now, how do I move forward? So position, how do I position myself going global from local? So I've said it in the general session that the basic or the baseline currently in our world of today is excellence. Excellence is no longer a goal in this generation. The starting point for everyone should be excellence. You should not do anything less than excellence. Excellence should be your starting point in whatever you are doing. And excellence means that you have the mindset of starting local but aiming global. So as much as we all try to aim global, we're all aiming for the global opportunities, for the global platforms and all. We should all start local. That is, what are you doing at your current local state that could command global attention? Because trust me, no one will give you a global platform if you are not doing anything at the local state. That's the reason why they submit for applications, they ask you to submit CV, statement of purpose, and all those things. They want to know what you are doing at a local phase so as to be able to give you an opportunity to operate at a global phase. So if you really need to go global, you need to understand that it all starts by solving a real problem at home. That is, what problem are you trying to solve at home currently? Even in the midst of limitations, lack of resources and all, what problem are you still striving to solve? It all starts from there. So now, to the power of association, I mentioned this also earlier in the session that there's a need to have a community. You need to have other like-minded individuals who are going similar field, similar pathway with you, who you guys could share ideas inside together. And now, one of our speakers or many, some of our speakers have also talked about this. There's a need to embrace favor, to embrace character, to embrace integrity. It is not enough for you to have the skills. It's not enough to be excellent at what you do. You need to embrace integrity. That is, as believers, we've been taught that favor is essential, character is essential, integrity is essential. But all these things boils down to your personality, to your person, to the kind of person you are becoming in your Christ or your Christian experience or your Christian life, the kind of believer you are turning into. The Bible talks about the transformation of our minds, that we should not be conformed to this world, but we should be transformed by the renewal of our minds. So there needs to be a renewal, and these are some of the fruit of the renewal. That is, when you get renewed over time, we should see the fruit of favor, we should see the fruit of character, we should see the fruit of integrity. So now to the document that you need to win. So I'll rush through this briefly. So you need your academic CV. I've mentioned academic CV, when we're talking about the different items you should have, the CV, the CGPA, the leadership, all those things we highlighted earlier. Those are things that you should have on your academic CV. So the next thing you need to start working on, for those of us that might not have that yet, is statement of purpose. So statement of purpose is basically trying to tell a story around your CV. That is, your CV is just itemizing what you've done, everything you've done in your career. Why a statement of purpose is trying to put a story to it. So you need to put a story to, you need to be able to tell a story about yourself. Basically, that's what we do when we write essays for application. We are trying to tell a story about ourselves, whether a story of what you've done in time past or a story of what you aim to do in the future. So you need to be good at storytelling. Storytelling is a skill that you have to embrace. That is, how well can you tell your story? And that's where that's where I tell people that as much as you can use AI softwares to refine your application, AI cannot tell your story because AI does not know you as much as you know yourself. You can use AI for your applications, definitely. For some applications, they will tell you that it's not allowed though, but for applications that they don't state it explicitly, you can use AI. The only thing is that AI cannot tell your story as much as you can. So that's why I advise people that when you use AI for application, just use it to refine, use it to get insight, structuring. But in the real sense, you are the one that can tell your story best. So please, there's a need to learn the act of storytelling for your application. The next thing is references. So please, we need to start building relationship with our supervisors, our superiors, because you need references for most of these international opportunities. They need people that can speak on your behalf, people that can attest to your person, to what you've done. So you need to build relationship with people that have been your superior, your supervisors, your workplace boss, and all those people. You need to have good relationship with them. Then the next thing is transcript and certificates. I understand that it's quite difficult in most Nigerian schools to get your transcripts. And that's why I always tell people that if you are thinking of applying for opportunities outside the country, it's good to get it early. Start applying early. If you are still a student, once you are done with your final exams, start processing your transcripts. You don't need to wait till you need it. It's better to have it on ground before you need it than when you need it, you start running around. Because trust me, those guys can really frustrate you. If they know that you need it desperately, they can frustrate you. So you don't want a situation whereby someone will take advantage of that, for their own funny means. Then the next thing is English proficiency. You need, for most of these opportunities these days, there's also a level of proficiency they need you to exhibit when it comes to your English language. I understand that many of us, English has been our main language in terms of communicating in school, in our institutions. But sometimes some institutions will tell you that they still need a proof. And that could serve in form of, you could use TOEFL, you could use IELTS, which are English tests. But one that I personally used all through my journey is letter of proficiency. So there's something called letter of English proficiency for most schools. You can get it from your institution. So for those of you that might not want to write the IELTS, the TOEFL, it's always good to get your letter of English proficiency. If you're a graduate of a school, I think they only give it to graduate. I don't think you can get that as an undergrad. So if you are done with school, you can get your letter of English proficiency that shows that you were taught and you learnt in English while in the institution. Then last thing is the passport. I understand that I think the process is much easier now based on what I heard, but irrespective, it's always good to start application early for those of us that don't have it yet. So now to polishing CV. So I'll just talk briefly about it. So when it comes to CV, I think the most important error or the most important problem I've identified in most people's CV is how they word it. Is the wording. It's not like people don't know what to put in their CV, but the way they word it is as important as what they put there. So what you put on your CV is not just is not the end of it. The wordings, the way you phrase it is as important as what you put there. So for instance, I see people write CV and maybe they want to write a volunteer experience they had. Maybe like they are the president of a CDS during the NYC days. You just put it as this. No. What you need to do is that when you have this kind of experience, you should be able to tell a story around it. That is, I led it instead of just putting president MHS, CDS, NYC, or your states 2025. You can put it as this after. I led a community development service for graduate members in your state, Nigeria, and we're able to sensitize people on drug abuse in Ajibode community. That is a way of phrasing it. There's difference between someone that wrote it under before and someone that wrote it as this after. There's a difference in the way they'll be perceived because you want to give the right perception. You want them to know that, no, I'm doing things also. I might not be up there yet, but I'm also doing things in my local space. So your wordings are very important when it comes to your CV. So now to crafting your winning statement, which I'll talk about a bit. I've mentioned that most of the opportunities require you to write essays. You need to write essays. You need to be able to tell a story around what you are doing. So the structure I love to adopt and I always recommend to people is every essay you write for any application, you should have a hook. That is, there should be something that is catchy. That is, and trust me, this works. I've discovered that many of these reviewers, they don't have the time to go through many of these essays. So from your first two sentences, you can tell the reviewer whether your application demands attention or not. And trust me, this is what most reviewers do. They don't have the patience to start reading the whole story you want to tell them. From the first two sentences, they can tell whether you are the right candidate or not. And that's why your first two sentences are the most important for any essay you are writing. So, and there, this is where it comes into place. So there's something called the hook. Hook is something that can catch, just like the name implies, hook. When you use hook, you use it to catch fishes and some of these water bodies. So hook is like a sort of catchy phrase or catchy statement that can get the attention of anyone reading your application. So, and there are two ways of going about it. I always say that when it comes to, there are two ways of going about it. The first one is by telling a story, a real life story about what led you to doing what you are doing now. So, for instance, if you're in the healthcare space, it could be that maybe you experienced the loss of a loved one, and that led you to focusing on what you are doing now. Or it could also be statistics. It could be based on data. That is, what is the world saying concerning this problem? For instance, we all know that cancer is a major problem in the world currently. So, if your interest is cancer research, for instance, you need to tell us statistics as regards the number of cancer patients or number of cancer cases that we have in the world today. So, for instance, if I don't know the numbers because that's not my field. So, if for instance, if we have like 1 out of 10 persons in the world currently has or is battling with cancer, that is a catchy statement. That is, this you are already telling the person that this problem you are looking at, that I'm trying to solve, is a big problem. Is a big problem. And if you don't pay attention to it, it might cause a big havoc in the world. So that is what hook is all about. It's just about catching the attention of whoever is reading your statement to know that, okay, this is what this person is trying to achieve. Then the next thing is research experience, style. So style is just a strategy towards stating whatever you've experienced. That is situation, task, action, results, then learning. Style approach. So that's what I use for most of my experiences. I talk about the situation, I talk about the tasks I did, the action that was played, the results, then the learnings. That is what I learned from it. Then the next thing is fit for school. So this is looking at it from the graduate school perspective. So for those of us that are looking at graduate school, you have to talk about why the school is the best for you or why you are choosing the school. Why not other schools? That is, why this particular school? Why are you choosing Cambridge? Why are you not choosing Oxford? Why are you choosing Harvard? Why are you not choosing MIT? You need to be able to explain to them. Then leadership and service. I've spoken about this earlier. You need to have some leadership skills or volunteering experience to start. Talk about then the next part is the long-term goals. That is, what are your goals? What do you want to achieve? Because it's not enough to have the desire. It's not enough to have a burden for something. What are you trying to achieve with it? What are your goals? What is your goal in life? What is your career goal? Then the last one is a conclusion. You should be able to end it on a good note. So now, let's do a little activity again. pick one weak line on your CV. I believe everyone on this course should have a CV. But if you don't have a CV yet, yeah, it's not a bad time to start working on one. But for many of us that have a CV, if you have your CV on your phone or your device, you can check it or open it now. Look, based on what I've explained, look for the weak lines or the weak areas that are on your CV. Then restructure it. That is, when you are restructuring your CV, you should be able to, every part of your CV should be able to answer the question of how many. For instance, when you are talking about your experiences, how many people will you be able to impact? How many people will you be able to reach? How many people will you be able to engage with based on this experience? Then the next thing is, where did this happen? That is the place, the state, the country. You should not just leave them blank. Like, especially when you're sending out your CV or your application to international reviewers, they don't know many of these places. So if you don't put the location there, they can't figure it out themselves. Then the next thing is impact. What impact did this particular activity make? This particular experience or this particular engagement, and what impact did it make in the lives of people? So we should be able to do this in the next few minutes. But I'll just have to rush through this because of our time. I know we are running quite late. So I'll just talk about my story to end with, and I'll take questions. So basically, I'm a first generation student, as I mentioned, and that means that I'm the first in my family to go to college and do many of the things I'm doing today, college, master's, PhD. So, and as I mentioned, general session, that there was really no roadmap. And I know that when there's no roadmap, it's difficult to really figure out things yourself, when you're trying to start on a scratch yourself. So, and one of the things I also face is that real financial hurdles. Yeah, when I was in undergrad, there are serious money problems. Yeah, my program was a long program. I studied DVM at the University of Ibadan, and it lasted for 6, 7 years because of strike. Yeah, I spent 7 years in school, and that 7 years was a lot. Of course, I got a lot of support from home, but based on the demands of school, I was still falling short of a lot of things. And one thing I was able to do is that I was able to build on that. That was enough anger for me to desire more. That was enough anger for me to that. So I just have to state this, that for many of you that might be going through something similar, I want you to know that most of all those things are not, even though they are limitations, they could be converted into opportunities for you. That is, that could propel you into anger to desire more in your field, in whatever you are doing. So that led me to, desiring better for myself in terms of aiming for opportunities outside the country and the likes. And from there, I was able to go for my NYC. After NYC, I worked with an organization for about 2 years before I left Nigeria. And this was the organization where I was able to build a lot of my skills, my research skills, my project management skills, my communication skills. I was able to build a lot of things through this organization. And from there, I moved to the UK for my master's, and immediately after my master, before I finished my master's, I already got my PhD offer. So everything just started working in alignment, despite the fact that there were a lot of struggles initially. So that's to tell you that um the limitations you are facing currently, they shouldn't hinder you from still achieving your goals. In fact, it should be a drive, it should be a propeller towards pushing for what you want. Because hunger in itself could be an advantage. Hunger in itself could be a blessing. Yeah, hunger in itself could be a blessing. There's something that God told this guy in the scriptures, in the story of Jacob and Esau. When Jacob outsmarted Esau and he took his blessings. There was something that no, sorry, there was something that their father told them. Sorry, not God. And something that their father told them, and their father told Esau that when you get discomforted and when you get restless, you will break his yoke off your neck. That's to tell you something, that restlessness, hunger, it's actually a blessing. Irrespective of the situation you might be in, when you get to a point where you become restless, you become hungry enough, doors will begin to open for you. So that was the state of Esau. Esau got to a point where he became restless. And we could see at the end of their lives, Jacob had to bow down to Esau. He had to bow down to David, despite the fact that he was the blessed one of the father. He has to bow down to Esau at the later phase of their life. So that's to tell you that, irrespective of what you might be going through, might see as a disadvantage, there's still more. There's still more that you can explore. There's still more you can explore within those limitations to achieve your goals. So now this is just the lesson I'll leave us with. Lessons I feel I had known earlier in my life, which I'll just encourage everyone to apply. First thing is, apply even before you feel ready. There's nothing like, I'm not ready for this. If it's something that is a goal for you, apply immediately. You start having the notion or you start having the nudging. You don't need to wait till you are perfectly fit for it. The next thing is your local work is global. Most of the things you are doing at this local phase, trust me, they count it as a big deal outside the country. So the little experiences you're having here and there, package it and present it to the global audience. And I trust that grace will open up those doors to you. Then the next thing is protect your character. Character is important. The quality of your person is as important as the skills that you have. Then the next thing is stay rooted, give back. Me coming on this call today is because I'm big on giving back. When I came out from my trip last night, I just felt like sleeping all day. But I know that there's a need to give back. There's a need to also help others to come into some of these possibilities. And that's where I had to stay awake. It's still midnight here in the US. And, we just have to do what we have to do. So these are some of those things that really keep us going. The fact that we understand that there's a need to give back. You don't need to be in a place physically to give back. You can give back virtually. And that's what I will encourage everyone to embrace. So now I'll just share this little screenshot with us. I saw this sometime this week, and I just thought of sharing. So this was someone who won a Nobel laureate. So for some of us that are familiar with Nobel laureate, it's one of the highest academic achievements you can have in a field. We have for medicine and some other stuff. So this is a Nobel Prize winner, and she shared her story. She started at the age of 14, she went for biology competition in her country, which was Hungary, and she won third position. Then at age 27, she already had a PhD. Then at age 30, she lost her job in her country. Then at that same age 30, she got a new job in the US. And at age 33, she lost the US job. Then that same age 33, she later got another position in Pennsylvania. Then she got demoted at age 40. Then she made her first major discovery at age 50. Then at age 58, she lost her job in Pennsylvania again. Then at age 58, she got another offer from BioNTech as the vice president. Then at this current age, she became the Nobel Prize winner in medicine. So that's to tell you that, and if you notice this graph, it's not a straight line graph, neither is it a diagonal graph. So that's to tell you that life comes in phases. There are always ups and downs. There might be times when you are not at your best, when the results are not yielding what you expect it to yield. But one thing that should keep you going is the resilient spirit. The resilient spirit that, no, I really want this. I know what God has spoken concerning my life. I know what God has said concerning my life. And that's why I always tell people that principles are powerful, but they are not fail-proof. And that's why I'm big on God in what the things I do. One thing I always encourage people to do is that for anything you are doing, make sure that you hear from God. Make sure you have a word from God before you run into anything. Because those are some of those things that will keep you, or that's one of those things that will keep you going when the discouraging days come. Yeah, principles are powerful, but they are not feel-proof. Everything I've spoken to you about today, they are principles that have worked in people's life. But trust me, they fail at times. But one thing I know that doesn't fail is God's faithfulness. So if you can embrace God's faithfulness and you keep him in all your journey, you make him the Alpha and Omega. Trust me, I believe that the sky will be your starting point. Thank you for listening. I'll tough to take questions now.
Thank you very much, sir. We really appreciate so it's time for questions and answers. So if you have questions, let me just invite that. Please confirm you can hear, sir.
Yes, I can still hear.
One, let's see number. Number two, any other person. Number three. Number four. Okay, so can you step forward? Yes, and ask the question. Let us hear so that you can hear us. Yeah, just go ahead. Just mention, but you have to put your voice.
Thank you so much, sir, for the enriching session. My name is Toluwanimi. I'm a master's student of clinical pharmacy in UI. So I just want to ask, I'm doing a research work on cancer patients, and of course, it required a lot of resilience because the population group is very restrictive. And so I wanted to ask, how can I build my research writing in that particular niche such that it could I can also get more global opportunities in cancer research and even making informed policies as regards their therapy. Thank you so much, sir.
All right,
Yeah.
yeah, thank you so much for that question. That's an amazing one. So, when it comes to building your research skills, one strategy that I would recommend is you can start with your, well, it doesn't have to be your supervisor, but you can start with any of the professors in your school or any of your lecturers. So, many times, when it comes to research, you need mentorship, especially when you are just starting out. You need mentorship, someone in that field that can mentor you. So if you have a professor that you are comfortable with or a lecturer that you are comfortable with, engaging with, let the person know you are trying to build your research skills. The person should be able to provide you with some materials. So, and of course, you can also do a lot of self-learning online. There are a lot of research. I think I will recommend some research writing courses to you. So there are some research writing courses. I think I'll get it across to you through the coordinator. Yeah, I'll get it across to you through the coordinator. So there are some research writing courses that I took that helped me at the early phase of my career. So research writing courses, then work with your mentor, your supervisor. That should help.
All right. Thank you, sir. The next question. Mention your name and
All right. Thanks so much, sir, for the session. I'm David, yeah, final year student, economics, University of Ibadan. So you mentioned that your research area, and my question is just that, is it that is a like is an area you are really interested in, or just matter of the problems that are arising and then you see? Because okay, I'm split context. I'm economics student, and I'm interested in development economics. But if I check deep, I think I'm really interested in agriculture, and it's like very disjointed. So is it a matter of like problem or what I am or reasons or what I am emotionally connected to? Right, talking about research.
Okay, all right. Yeah, so that's a great question. So when it comes to research interest, it's just a similar advice that they give business people that it's not enough to start a business just for passion. You also have to understand where their value is. That's why you hear people say something like Dangote is not passionate about cement. So the balance here is that there should be a desire to make a change in a field, but it should also be a field that is relevant in terms of problems. That is, there are problems in that field that is gaining global attention because you don't want to get yourself in a field where no one is interested in solving the problems because you still need funding to get problems solved. So that's why there should be a balance between what is your passion, that is, I really desire this field, then also based on your research, is the world actually looking at this field? Are people ready to pour in resources towards solving this problem? Because, for instance, there are certain problems in Nigeria that the Nigerian populace is not ready to solve yet. So, if you are trying to solve a problem in Nigeria that the population is not even interested in getting the problem solved, that might not be a good strategy. So, there should be a balance between your passion and where there is a problem that the world needs a solution for. So, you should be able to balance that too. Oh, sorry, those two.
all right. Thank you, sir. Next question.
Hello, my name is Moyinoluwa Oladoye. I want to talk about fees, like application fees, because you mentioned that you applied for up to nine schools. And one of the requirements is actually application fee, which actually runs to like $50, $100. I know how that could be. So imagine paying about $100 to like 10 schools. So, and I heard of fee waivers, but how many fee waivers can one get? Understand? So how do you navigate that? Also, you mentioned something about having a community. So can you just give us that? Thank you.
All right, yeah, thank you for that question. So the first one, as regards fee waivers, yeah, that's a lovely challenge that a lot of people face. So for me, the 9 schools I applied for in the UK, I never paid any application fee because then I was not so financially buoyant, and I had to just focus on schools that either don't accept application fee or they waive it for Nigerians. A lot of schools waive it for Nigerians. Why for some schools they add them and they will tell you that you still have to pay. So I will advise that if you don't have the financial means, if what you can do is pay for one, then pick one school that you are confident about, pay for one. Then for the rest, look for schools that don't require application fee or that will give you a waiver. That's the best strategy. The only application fee I've ever paid in my life is for the school I'm currently doing my PhD in. That's the only application fee I've paid in my life. All the other schools I've ever applied to, I never paid any application fee. So that's because I always target schools that either provide waiver or don't require it. So if what you can do is just one, you don't need to put yourself under financial restraint. Just pay for the one, then look for other schools that don't require it. Then the next question is community. So as regards community, yeah, the best way to get access to community is asking people around you. So as I said earlier, there are a lot of communities out there. Even if you go on academic Twitter, there's something called academic Twitter that is just a space or a niche for people that are in the academics that are on Twitter. So there are a lot of people organizing seminars, platforms, and all those. If you look out for such individuals, you'll find or even on LinkedIn, you'll find such information on LinkedIn. So it's just about leveraging social media to get access to some of those individuals. And even for me, I and my friends, or my friends and I, some of my friends and I, we also have a community of such where we share opportunities, we help people in graduate school processing and all. So it's just about looking for it and finding. So there are a lot of options that you have in that regard.
All right. Thank you very much. My name is Joshua Peters. I just want to ask, hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Oh, great. So I was talking about CGPA. For instance, someone finished with maybe a lower class, BSc. So how do you maybe do what kind of courses can you do, or what kind of things can you do to augment or to upgrade that will give you similar opportunity to apply for master's program? Maybe you can do a master's here in Nigeria, maybe get a PhD grade and go for PhD, but if you don't have that opportunity, what can you do to give you a boost for what you already have? Then my second question is about cold emailing, for potential supervisors out there in those countries. I've had one in Texas State where you are. I applied. I reached out to a Professor Cox. Yeah, and it was a nice one. I applied, but I got a rejection actually. But I want to know, is there a perfect way to go about emailing these people that they respond and see your interest? Because I think it's a good avenue if you go through that route and you have a potential supervisor who believes in what you do. It's easier for them to integrate you into the system. So how do you navigate that aspect? Thank you.
All right, yeah, that's a great one. So to the first one, which you mentioned as guys, having a low CGPA and trying to build upon that. So yeah, you already mentioned one of the options I will have given. So there are two options. The first option is either to do a master's in Nigeria, where you get a better grade to make up for the one of the undergrad. The second option is by building your research capacity. So because anything graduate school, be it master's or PhD, it's more about research. So if you can convince them that your research capacity is strong, and how do you convince them? By getting papers published, by doing conference presentations. If you can augment your profile in those two aspects,
about what you learned
trust
in your
me,
class today and your action
the
point.
CGPA defects can always be waived. But you need to be able to prove them that you are bringing something better than CGPA to the table. So it's about what you have to bring to the table. So if you don't have CGPA to bring to the table, you should be able to bring something stronger, which is a robust research experience. So if you have enough publications and enough conference attendances, that is enough, I believe, should buffer that. Then the second question as regards code mailing. Yeah, it's a very good strategy. In fact, it's the best strategy towards getting PhD offers and supervisors. And what I would say is the best strategy is getting to be interested in what the professor is interested in. I always tell people that you cannot be proposing a topic to a professor who has built his whole life on cancer and are proposing a topic to him in mental health. It won't make sense to him, right? So you need to be able to understand what the research professor is doing first, then look for gray areas or look for gap areas in his research, then propose a solution to him that, oh, you've read his research, you've seen this and this that he has done, but you feel that there's still a gap in this area. that does he mind if you work with him towards fixing that gap in what he has been doing? Trust me, there's always gap in research. If you look for it, there's always gap in research. So that's why research will always keep going, because there's always research gap to be covered. So if you can find a research gap in what the person is doing and you're able to propose it in a strategic way in your mail, trust me, that is enough to catch their attention. But I will not also fail to add that no matter what you do, there are certain persons that will not respond to you. Whether because they are not just interested in responding, or for some of them, they are busy, while for some of them, they don't have the funding. So there are a lot of mails, professors have emailed in time past that will tell me that, oh, they love my profile, they will have loved to work with me, but they don't have the funds. And now that we know what's happening in the United States currently, there have been lots of cuts in fundings and all. So it's quite difficult for a lot of research professors to get funding. It's more difficult now than it used to be. So you just need to understand those peculiarities, and that's why I always advise that if the US is not working, you can try out other countries. Can try out other countries. Just make sure that you are led and you are convinced about wherever you're going to. Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much, sir, for the insightful session and the question and answer session. We are grateful. So right now we're joining the main session. But before we go, some of us we are asking that would there be room for kind of mentorship? So according to what I heard from the president, these details you have put there will be adding us to a group, and you will be communicating with our facilitator to see how they can work things out, so that we can have an ongoing mentorship. So thank you very much, everyone, for your attention in this session. So please, we can join the main session now. The session
Thank you
is
so
already.
much.
Thank you, sir.